the art of speaking to women has never been about clever lines or carefully memorized scripts. It has always been about power, power of presence, power of perception, power of influence. Machiavelli understood that the human mind is not conquered through force, but through subtlety, unpredictability, and emotional leverage. When you talk to a woman, your words are not just sounds, they are signals. Signals of strength, confidence, mystery, and emotional authority. And the man who masters these signals becomes the man who stays in her mind long after the conversation ends. A Machiavellian man begins by mastering himself. He knows that the most dangerous mistake a man can make is to let the woman feel his nervousness, his excitement, or his eagerness. A man who speaks from chaos creates chaos, but a man who speaks from stillness dominates the atmosphere. When you talk to a woman, you slow everything down. Your voice becomes deep, calm, and deliberate. Your breathing regulates the entire dynamic. Your silences become more powerful than her words. And suddenly, without understanding how, she is following your emotional rhythm. Her body mirrors your stillness. Her speech softens. Her reactions slow down. You become the gravitational center she unconsciously orbits. Machiavelli believed that influence begins where predictability ends. Women are not fascinated by a man who reveals everything he thinks, feels, or wants. They are fascinated by the man who reveals little, who leaves gaps in his stories, who makes her lean in, mentally and emotionally, to understand him. When you talk to a woman, you give her pieces of yourself, never the whole picture. You answer questions in half, thoughts. You give insights instead of explanations. You mention experiences without elaborating on them. You leave emotional windows open, but never wide enough for her to fully enter. Your ambiguity becomes a puzzle, and the feminine mind has always been drawn to puzzles. Most men destroy their own power by giving compliments too quickly, too directly, and too superficially. A Machiavellian man never does this. He does not place a woman on a pedestal. Instead, he makes her feel seen in a way that destabilizes her. He compliments her depth, not her appearance. He comments on her eyes as if they are hiding something. He observes her energy, her behavior, her reactions. His words make her feel naked emotionally. Even if she is fully clothed physically, she begins to see him as someone who looks through her, not at her. And a woman becomes deeply attached to the man who can read the parts of herself she hides from the world. The Machiavellian way of speaking involves a double, layered language. Sentences that have a literal meaning on the surface and a psychological meaning underneath. You do not speak to impress. You speak to provoke thought. You speak to stir emotions she cannot fully categorize. You tell her she seems confident, but you imply that her confidence is a shield. You tell her she looks calm, but you imply her calmness hides storms. You tell her she's guarded, but you say it gently, as if it's something you understand, not something you judge. She walks away not knowing whether you exposed her or protected her, and that confusion binds her to you. A Machiavellian man speaks softly because he understands that a soft voice forces the mind to lean in. The voice becomes a magnet. When you lower your tone, when you stretch your words, when you let silence fall between your phrases, she feels something shift inside her. Women don't fall for loud men. They fall for men who carry quiet certainty, quiet strength, quiet danger. A man who whispers can seduce far more deeply than a man who shouts, because whispering implies control. It implies choice. It implies dominance without aggression. When she asks direct questions, you never answer directly. She asks if you like her. You tell her she has an interesting energy. She asks why you didn't text. You tell her you text when something feels worth your time. She asks if other women want you. You tell her confidence tends to attract attention. You never defend, explain, or justify. You redirect her questions back to her. You destabilize her certainty. You make her wonder what you truly think. Because the moment a woman knows exactly where she stands with you, her desire weakens. A Machiavellian man speaks as though he understands her better than she understands herself. You point out her patterns before she reveals them. You describe her emotions before she admits them. You interpret her silence before she speaks. Suddenly, she feels exposed in a way that both scares her and pulls her closer. She wonders how you see what she hides. She wonders how you read what others miss. Women become emotionally attached to a man who understands their secret selves. More importantly, a Machiavellian man never talks without purpose. His sentences are weapons, tools, strategies. He doesn't fill silence with noise. He lets silence work for him. He uses words only when they create emotional movement. With every conversation, he pushes her into deeper curiosity, deeper self-reflection, and deeper desire. She begins to crave his voice, not because of what he says, but because of how he makes her feel when he says it. The conversation with a Machiavellian man always has rhythm. He speaks, he withdraws, he reveals, he hides, he gives, he takes away, he appears, he disappears. This emotional tempo keeps her off balance, and the human mind becomes addicted to the things that disturb its patterns. She starts thinking about the conversation long after it ends. She analyzes your pauses. She questions your tone. She replays your comments in her mind. This mental replay is psychological dominance. The more she replays your words, the more her attachment deepens. Not because you pushed, but because you planted seeds. And the final Machiavellian secret is perhaps the most powerful of all. You make her believe she chose you. You never position yourself as the pursuer. You make her feel like the connection was her idea, that her interest grew naturally, that her attraction was inevitable. People protect what they choose. They chase what they initiate. They cherish what they believe they discovered for themselves. And so, even as you guide the entire psychological dance, you do it in a way that makes her think she was the one leading. In the end, speaking to women in a Machiavellian manner is not about manipulation. It is about understanding the architecture of desire. It is about knowing how to be the man her mind cannot escape, the man whose silence weighs more than others' words, the man whose presence creates tension, curiosity, and emotional gravity, the man who reveals little but communicates everything through his energy, composure, and mystery. A woman's mind isn't dominated by force. It is dominated by the man who can make her think, wonder, feel, and chase all at once. This is how Machiavelli would teach you to speak to a woman, not through charm, but through control, not through neediness, but through presence, not through pressure, but through psychological mastery. The deeper you go into the mind of a woman, the more you understand something essential. It's not your looks, your money, or your status that dominate her thoughts. It's the emotional experience she feels around you. Machiavelli understood that human beings are ruled by emotions disguised as logic. And when you talk to a woman, you are not influencing a person, you are influencing an emotional ecosystem. A Machiavellian man creates an atmosphere that no other man can recreate. He is not just a presence, he is a psychological climate. His voice carries weight, his silence carries questions, his gaze carries meaning. He is a man a woman cannot easily categorize, and what cannot be categorized becomes unforgettable. In this second phase of mental dominance, the Machiavellian man begins by controlling contrasts. Human psychology is built on contrast. Without contrast, nothing stands out. So he becomes a master of emotional variation. He gives her warmth, then distance, interest, then unpredictability, softness, then composure. He is never flat, never consistent, never fully accessible. He offers connection but not certainty, affection but not stability. And in this tension, a woman's mind becomes fully engaged. She thinks about him not because he tries, but because he creates an emotional landscape that she cannot escape. This is where Machiavelli's most misunderstood principle takes place. A woman does not fall for the man who gives her everything. She falls for the man who gives her just enough to awaken her need for more. When you talk to her, your words become emotional triggers. You don't simply respond to what she says. You lead her into deeper layers of conversation. You ask her about things she avoids. You make statements that touch the parts of her she hides. You bring out emotions she doesn't show others. Every sentence becomes a subtle excavation of her inner world. You guide her thoughts without force, like a puppeteer who never touches the strings. You let her feel like she is revealing herself willingly, even though every revelation was strategically drawn out by you. A Machiavellian man understands timing better than any other man. He knows exactly when to slow the conversation until every word feels heavy, and when to speed it up to create momentum. He knows when to look into her eyes long enough to unsettle her, and when to look away to force her to chase the meaning. He knows when to pause, when to tease, when to challenge, and when to withdraw. He doesn't just speak, he orchestrates. The greatest power lies in how he uses uncertainty. Not destructive uncertainty, but the kind that stimulates emotional curiosity. He lets her feel close but never certain. He lets her feel understood but never fully read. He lets her feel desired but never fully claimed. He becomes a paradox she wants to solve, and the feminine heart cannot resist a paradox. Women often say they love confident men, but what they truly mean is that they love men who cannot be moved. A Machiavellian man embodies this immovability. He does not get jealous, even when she tries to provoke him. He does not get insecure, even when she becomes distant. He does not get excited too quickly, even when she opens up emotionally. His emotional home remains untouched, and this makes him psychologically superior. Machiavelli would tell you that people follow those they cannot shake, and a woman becomes deeply attached to the man whose emotional center she cannot disrupt. As the conversation deepens, the Machiavellian man begins to influence her through vision. Not dreams, not fantasies. Vision. He speaks about life in a way that elevates her mind. He doesn't talk like ordinary men who chase validation. He speaks like a man with a mission, a man with direction, a man whose presence suggests destiny, not coincidence. He paints his life as something she would want to be part of. Not because he invites her, but because he doesn't. The absence of invitation becomes the strongest invitation of all. She listens to him and realizes that he is not like the rest. He does not beg for attention. He does not adjust himself to impress her. He does not shrink himself to make her comfortable. He speaks as if he has already chosen his path, and she must decide whether she is worthy to walk beside him. This flips the psychological frame. Most men try to convince women they are good enough. A Machiavellian man makes the woman convince herself that she is good enough for him. This is the highest form of mental domination, not forcing desire, but inspiring it through reverse psychology and inner authority. And then comes the most powerful moment, when she starts opening up emotionally, when she reveals her fears, her insecurities, her past, her heartbreaks, when she tells you things she never planned to share. This is where the Machiavellian man intensifies his influence. He listens with full presence, but without emotional collapse. He reacts with understanding, but without over-validation. He shows empathy, but not attachment. He becomes the emotional mirror she has always sought. A mirror that reflects her truth without judging it. A mirror that sees her without inflating her. A mirror that makes her feel safe, but not powerful over him. And suddenly, she feels something terrifying. A man she cannot control. A man she cannot predict. A man she cannot replace. The psychological dominance becomes complete the moment she realizes that the conversation is no longer just a conversation. It is an emotional dependency. She begins thinking about you when she wakes up, wondering what you meant by a certain phrase, replaying your silence, analyzing your tone, trying to decode your mystery. You become an emotional equation she cannot solve, yet desperately wants to. That is the Machiavellian art. not to overpower her, but to occupy her mind without force, to guide her emotions without raising your voice, to dominate her thoughts without touching her body. In the end, Machiavelli would say that the man who controls perception controls the heart, and the man who controls the heart controls the mind, and the man who controls the mind never loses a woman, even when she tries to walk away.